Hi everyone and welcome to this Fan Art Friday video. In this video I'm working on a drawing of Eren Jaeger from Attack on Titan in his Titan form. I'm really looking forward to the new season, and I did work on a drawing of Eren in his Titan form a couple of years ago, but looking back at it I really wanted to reattempt this. I wanted to spend more time and put more detail into a drawing. And also I really wanted to adapt the drawing to the style that I've been using in a lot of my recent videos, with the comic panel and that kind of layout. As you can see, when I was working on the initial sketch, I really wanted to work on a side portrait, and I wanted to have a comic panel in the background with Eren's hair overlapping it, as a way to just push him out from that background and to really make him stand out on the page. In terms of the pen outlines after that, the main pens I used were Pigma Micron 05 and 08. These have a very thick pen tip, and I used them especially for Eren's hair. Adding really thick outlines to some of the shaded areas, and also completely inking in some areas to try and create that comic art effect. That was what I was aiming for. And then for the finer outlines around his face and in areas where I wanted to have more control over the line work, I was using a Copic Multiliner SP 0.03mm. The outlines actually ended up taking a lot longer than I was expecting, partly because I ended up filling the entire page, but also because I was really enjoying working on the hair and trying to create that comic effect. It was fun to try a new style. Then, when I'd completed the outlines, it was time for the colouring, and for the colouring of this drawing I used Copic Markers, starting off with Eren's skin tones. And I started with a base layer of colour with pinkish white, adding a full layer with this first, and then building up a couple of extra layers to show where I was going to add more shading later on, so around Eren's eye, the underside of his nose, and the underside of some of the wrinkles in the skin, and those sort of areas. Afterwards I then used a pale heath marker to add the second layer of shading, to also add just some more warmth overall to the skin tone as well. Just adding a couple of layers of that, and then afterwards using a mixture of pale grape and light grape to add the next layers of shading. So starting off with the lightest shades and then building up towards the darker shades. And then also to add more of a blush tone to some of the skin, I used a blush marker and a lipstick natural. For the colouring of Eren's eye, I used New Leaf, Apple Green and Horizon Green, using the Horizon Green around the outer edges of the iris. And then to add the really bright white opaque highlights to the eye, I used my Uni-Ball Signo Broad white ink pen, using this to really make that eye stand out. Another way that I really wanted to make the eye stand out was to add some dark shading around it, so I used a mixture of Cool Grey 3, 5 and 7, adding lots of dark shading to that area. And once that was placed down, I then also used my white Prismacolor pencil to add a highlight running horizontally across the area, to try and create the effect of the eye glowing. I'd seen this effect being used in the show when Eren is going absolutely berserk, and I just really wanted to try it in this drawing. After that, I continued to use the cool grey markers to add the rest of the shading to his skin tones, and also to add the shading to each of the individual teeth, using Cool Grey 3 and 5 specifically for that. To add the shading to his teeth in the background that you can see on the upper jaw and a little bit on the lower jaw, I filled them in with a black Copic marker to really push them towards the background. Then, after this, I wanted to work on the colouring of his tongue. For this, I used 3 different colours, the darkest colour being cardinal, the mid-tone being crimson, and for the highlighted area towards the tip of the tongue, I used a pure pink marker. To add extra shading around the area, I also used the cool grey markers, and then to add highlights, I used the Prismacolor pencil and the Uni-Ball highlighter pen. Moving on from that, I used the same colouring technique for his neck and for his ear, just basically starting with the lighter shades first, with pinkish white, pale heath, pale grape, light grape, then adding darker tones and actually adding a lot of shading to this area, so relying more on the darker colours like lipstick natural, and then adding really dark shading with the cool grey 5 and 7. Then I also added a few more highlights around his skin with the Prismacolor pencil and the highlighter pen. Next up, it was time to work on the colouring of his hair. And for this, I started with the base layer of colour towards the top of his head with a Cool Grey 3. Starting off light for drawings like this, especially with hair, I think is a good idea. So I started with that and then started using Cool Grey 5 over the top of it to just build up some more layers of shading, just leaving some of the highlighted areas towards the top of some of the locks of hair. And then I started blending in some really dark shading with Cool Grey 7, especially towards the lower part of the drawing and that really dark section of hair. Also for the opposite side, for the hair that's covering the opposite side of his face, I wanted to add some really dark shading to that, so I blended in some black Copic marker as well. For the final part of this drawing, I wanted to add some detail to the steam that's rising from his mouth, and for this I added a base layer of colour with Cool Grey 3, and then used the Uni-Ball highlighter pen to add some highlights running along the top of each steam cloud. And after that, this drawing was completed. Overall, I think it took about 4.5 hours to complete, and it was extremely fun to work on. As I mentioned before, I'm really excited about this new season, and I can't wait to watch it. If you want to see more videos like this, and you want to see more anime drawings, please let me know as well. I would love to work on some more. And if you have any suggestions in general for any drawings, of any tutorials or any fantasy art, fan art, any suggestions at all, please let me know. I really appreciate them, and they do help the channel out a lot. If you'd like to see any more videos like this, then make sure you're subscribed, and any likes or shares on this video, they really mean a lot to me. And if you want to follow my progress and keep updated with everything I'm working on, then be sure to check out the links in the description box below to check out my Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And once again, thank you so much for the support on this channel, and thank you so much for watching this video. It was really fun to work on this one, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I'll see you all soon.